too, and quite a blustery day on offer, particularly across parts of the southwest. Any areas surrounding the Bristol Channel could see some quite strong winds through the day, but there will be some brighter spells, if not some sunshine later into the day, but there will be some showers mixed in there too. These too still could be rather heavy at times, and still on the chillier side, though not quite as cold across many areas of England and Wales. Highs reaching 9 to 10 here, but around the mid-single figures elsewhere towards the north. And still, as we progress into the evening, plenty of cloud, some showery outbreaks, but as we head into next week there will be more sunshine, but turning chilly again with some overnight frosts and feeling quite cold during the day too, but nevertheless there will be some more brighter spells.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good evening, it's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday Five. That's right. Yes, it's the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Alex Armstrong, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Trey Lowe, and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
the Conservatives will never win another election.
It was our COVID response that killed people.
And there's a sick experiment about to happen on our children.
Forget the votes, we should be worried about the brain drain.
Shabana Mahmood defies her haters. It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday Five. Sorry, we love to bring you a little bit of cringe every now and then, you know. We've got the serious with the fun here on this show. That is what the Saturday Five is all about. We'll bring you, of course, so much today. We want to hear what you have to say as ever. gbnews.com/your say. Write in your views. Get something for Ask the Five. Ask the Five is your opportunity to write any question you want to us, and we will tackle it here on the show. No topics are off limits. And as ever, we love to give you the power to control this show. So you can vote in our poll. And today, we're asking quite a few questions that I will get to you after the break, because they're not in my autocue at the moment. So I will tell you. So just stay tuned. But of course, we're going to have a very big show for you today. Lots and lots to dig into. I think I'm really looking forward to Dr. Renee's big monologue tonight, because she is going to be talking about the COVID inquiry. And there's no one more qualified to talk about this than Dr. Renee. So much to come on the show. But before we start, inevitably tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday Night News with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 6:01. The Prime Minister and Ukraine's President have held a phone call to discuss the US proposed peace deal, which Volodymyr Zelensky has described as genuine. World leaders will continue discussion in Switzerland tomorrow. Sir Keir Starmer and other European leaders say the draft includes essential elements for a just and lasting peace between Ukraine and Russia, but that it requires additional work. The controversial 28-point proposal would see Vladimir Putin walk away with full ownership over the Donbass regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, as well as Crimea. Donald Trump has given Volodymyr Zelensky less than a week to decide whether to approve the plan or risk losing weapons and intelligence. The Prime Minister says Ukraine should have the final say.
One of the elements in the 28-point plan is the security guarantee from the US, an Article 5 guarantee. That's about the strongest guarantee that can be put forward. And so that fortifies in me the belief that what we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace, but it'll only be just and lasting if there are security guarantees and if we bear in mind that matters for Ukraine are always to be determined by Ukraine.
The owner of the Daily Mail is in talks to buy the Daily Telegraph and its Sunday sister title for £500 million. The Daily Mail's and General Trust says it has entered exclusive negotiations with Redbird IMI to finalise the terms of the transaction. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy will review the potential new deal. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has dismissed an inquiry report that found chaos in his government cost more than 20,000 people their lives in the first wave of the pandemic. The COVID inquiry found Mr Johnson presided over a toxic and chaotic Downing Street culture that undermined efforts to respond to the virus. Baroness Heather Hallett's report accused Mr Johnson and his government of not taking COVID-19 seriously and being too optimistic in the early months of 2020. He hit back, though, branding the inquiry that he set up hopelessly incoherent and that those in government at the time were doing their best. A 13-year-old girl has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found dead at her home in Wiltshire. Police officers were called to a house in Swindon yesterday evening after receiving a report of a disorder. The woman, who was in her 50s and lived at the address in Baden Close in Morden, died at the scene. The 13-year-old was later arrested in connection and remains in police custody. And Australia have beaten England by 8 wickets in the first Ashes test in Perth. England captain Ben Stokes admitted he was left shell-shocked after Australia crushed his side in 2 days at Perth. That's the fastest Ashes defeat in over 100 years. You're up to date. I'll have more for you at 7 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
It's Saturday night, of course. You're with the Saturday Five. Let me tell you those polls that I forgot earlier. So your polls are this. This is what you should go and vote on, gbnews.com/poll. Charity starts with the UK. That's number 1. Should Ukraine accept Trump's peace plan? That's number 2. And 3 is, should there be a ban on social media for teenagers? Get on to gbnews.com/poll and start voting now, because we will be talking about that in less than an hour. And in between now and then, we have there's 3 hours, of course, of this show, but this next hour, we are going to have the biggest debates, of course, and we're going to crack on with tonight's first debate, and this is my part of the show here, because I was really disturbed, like many of you might have been, to find out that there is a sick experiment on children about to take place in the United Kingdom. A new clinical trial starting in January, of course. King's College London will recruit up to 220 under 16-year-olds experiencing what they call gender distress. They'll randomly assign half of them to start puberty blockers straight away. The other half will be made to wait a year, all while scientists monitor what happens to their bones, their brains, and their mental health. This comes just months after the Cass Review slammed the door on these drugs, warning the evidence base was shockingly weak and many youngsters suffered devastating harm. How much more information do you need? The government banned routine prescriptions indefinitely under the Conservatives, yet now, astonishingly, we're told the only ethical way forward is to experiment on children again. It's absolutely insane. Critics, including Kira Bell, the young woman who detransitioned after blockers and surgery at the Tavistock clinic, call it disgusting. Legal challenges are already being prepared, of course. And let's not forget, when Labour came into power in July 2024, the new Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, immediately defended and extended the Conservative government's emergency ban on private prescriptions of puberty blockers. He then made it indefinite in December 2024, citing that same report that had slammed these drugs, the Cass Review. So why, Mr. Health Secretary Wes Streeting, why the silence now? Why are you allowing the NHS and these clinical studies to go ahead on our children? There should be no circumstances where puberty blockers are ever allowed to exist in this country. And I put that to the rest of the panel. I'll start with you, Dr. Renee, as of course you are a doctor. What do you make of all of this?
I mean, look, this trial has only been granted because, and I'm going to say this, Hilary Cass, who had the best intentions, was harangued by the trans lobby, one in particular, and this particular clause was put in to satisfy them. This trial falls down on the Nuremberg Code on nearly every single area. First and foremost is that you must be able to get informed consent. As a doctor, I would argue that a 10-year-old cannot comprehend never having children. So they cannot give informed consent. The experiment should benefit society. If this group is so small, as Kai is always telling us, there is no wider benefit to society. No disabling injury must occur. Lots of these children, as you've rightly pointed out, end up with disabling injuries and are going to take the NHS to court. I could go on. We already know that most children who are showing issues with the sex that they're born in, if they're left to go through puberty, which is one of the most important parts of an adult forming, up to 93% of them will settle with their own sex and get on with it. Then of the 7 left, many are gay and finding it quite hard to cope with.
It's a form of conversion therapy, in my opinion. Will, what do you make of this?
Well, Helen Joyce has said that on many occasions that this really is an attack on gay, often autistic young children. It's disgusting. It is morally abhorrent. Gender dysphoria, which is a very, very small, or affects a very small group of people, is a mental condition or something that should be treated with psychological therapy and help through psychological means. The way that we somehow think that it needs to be treated by stopping people's puberty, which has irreversible consequences, will go down as one of the great human rights atrocities of our time.
I absolutely agree. Kai, how can anyone defend this sick experiment?
I'll tell you how. The framing of your argument just now, Alex, was one of the worst faith framings I've ever seen on this. You
How
know
else do you want me
it's
to
a
say
nonsense,
How
and
else do you want me to say it, Kai?
I'll
How
tell
can
you
defend?
why.
How?
Well,
All right, go on.
I'll tell you why.
At you. Go on.
You well know that the CAST review that slammed the door, as you say, on the use of these drugs also said that the evidence base is weak and therefore there should be a clinical trial. That's exactly what's being proposed here for 200 max children. The safeguards, there are safeguards that prevent children from accessing this if they have vulnerable mental health, for their family situation, and if they're unable to give informed consent. I'm glad you said, Will, that this could be an irreversible treatment, because what is more irreversible than that is allowing thousands of children to be completely denied of their existence, and people like you who think that they simply don't exist and simply shouldn't be considered.
That's not what these
as part of it is the effect of what they're saying, because what you would have is to do nothing, do absolutely nothing to support these kids.
Look, Dr. Renee just said, right, you talk about 93% settle and then about 7% become gay, which is absolutely fine.
Well, no, they don't all become
right?
gay.
But what we're talking about are these irreversible changes, and we're talking about bone density changes, fertility changes.
And that's what the trial will look at.
Psychological changes.
That's what the trial will look at.
We don't experiment on children.
I'm in favour of...
There are no clinical trials on children. Full stop.
We do very few.
So that's what we're hearing, because you can't just say that on this issue it's different to any other medical issue that we're looking at.
I'm sorry, I can. Okay? There is no other condition where people believe they are something that they are not. Let's talk anorexia, for example, where we intervene and actually reinforce their belief. There is no other condition, Kai.
What comes across every single time in these conversations I have is, frankly, none of you know the effect that these kinds of treatments can have, the positive effect that they can have for the mental health and survival of trans kids. It's clear to me that none of you know any trans kids.
I'm going to have a final word on this. It is utterly deplorable and disgusting that anybody, scientists or otherwise, would first of all get involved in these sick experiments, but for anyone to defend it. This is children's lives we are destroying. Our government is actively allowing this to take place rather than intervening. I hope you're watching Wes Streeting, because you should be intervening to stop children from many of whom have criticised these. Many have gone through the transition before, and their lives are ruined. Their lives are ruined.
I would also just like to come back at Kai. The only decent evidence there is on whether or not transitioning improves mental health shows that once these kids have transitioned, their mental health is worse and they are more likely to commit suicide. I can send that data to you, Kai.
And I'm sorry, Alex, 10 seconds. I never said we should do nothing, Kai. I said the answer is therapy, it is talking, it is psychological assistance, it is not irreversible medical experiments.
Totally agree. Unfortunately, I thought this issue was going to be put to bed. I thought this health secretary tried to portray himself as a man of at least trying to get away from the craziness of the far left. But yeah, well, that's what it is, isn't it?
No,
and unfortunately, we're seeing this happen in America. And unfortunately, again, we're going to have to wait until a sensible government comes in and decides it wants to protect our children. But I think that experiment, this sick thing that's going to happen, is going to ruin those children's lives, 200 or none. Anyway, listen, Department of Health and Social Care spokesperson has said this: young people with gender incongruence need access to high-quality, safe and effective care. We are following the CAST review, which was clear that the evidence on care for these children is lacking, and proposed this research to help provide it. Medical care must always be based on solid evidence, and children's safety must come first, indeed.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, on the back of that, we've got a nice little jolly thing to switch gears on here, because there's only a few weeks left until Christmas. And time's running out for you to enjoy it all on us. That's 40 grand in tax-free cash, 1 grand to spend in your favourite supermarket, and a fantastically festive GB News goodie bag. The best news is it's all going to be ready for the big day. So make sure you don't miss out. Here's all the details.
There's just 33 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree, and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, good luck, everybody. Well, Renee, what have you got for us up next?
OK, Alex, I'm going to talk to you about the COVID inquiry and why I think they've missed the point.
I'm really excited for this one. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
All right, Kai, calm yourself down in the corner over there. Calm down. Commercial.
I decided to be a bit punchier this week, Alex.
Yeah, you have.
You've been punchy during the ad breaks.
Yeah. saved it for off air. Anyway, welcome back to the Saturday 5. If you'd like to engage in our row, gbnews.com/your say. And, of course, get your questions in for Ask the 5. Let's go through some of your messages so far, shall we? I thought that after shutting the... Archie McCall says, I thought after shutting down the clinic in Tavistock, this was all over. This is some sort of Frankenstein medical stuff.
Yep.
I thought it was a thing of the past. Exactly. And many of you are comparing this to 1940s eugenics. And unfortunately, it feels like that. It feels like I can understand why many of you feel that way, and particularly because it's aimed at children. I don't care what adults do to their body.
Exactly.
If you are in charge of your body when you're an adult and you can give consent, I just don't think a child is able to. Even the science proves that their brains aren't fully formed yet. So how could they... Until they're 25, exactly. Anyway, it's time for our next debates now, and I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Renee.
OK, everybody. So, 5 years ago, the world literally went completely and utterly bonkers. Lady Hallett was right. People died who didn't need to. And that's about where my agreement with the COVID report this week ends. In a blind panic, or even something darker, who knows, politicians rewrote the rules of human life overnight. My daughter Alice was 20 months old. She was robbed of a normal childhood. The elderly were abandoned, sedated with midazolam, left to die alone, no family, no hand to hold, no last I love you, because the NHS became the National COVID Service. Family not even allowed to say goodbye together. Cancer patients sent home to die. I watched them. Operations cancelled, heart attacks ignored, kids locked at home, very often with the people who abused them because abusers work from home. When schools reopened, they sat freezing in classrooms with doors sewn off for ventilation. People were not even allowed to say goodbye at funerals. Look at the Queen. This was after vaccination, people. We spent $400 billion paying people to stay at home and convince millions that doing nothing was a valid career choice. And in all of this, the average age of COVID death was 82. This week, the multi-million-pound inquiry ignored the suicides, the missed cancers, the ruined childhoods, the bankrupt businesses, the mental health, and said we should have locked down sooner, harder, to maybe save 23,000 mostly elderly lives. Shame on you, Lady Hallett. Shame on every single one of you. Life and death decisions should be made with love, with family, with dignity, never again by fear and flawed computer models. We must never, ever let this happen again.
Couldn't agree more, Renee. I think this entire inquiry has been an utter farce, and I do believe it's a cover-up as well. I believe it's a serious cover-up of the failings of government and the failings of the unelected establishment who actually drove the government in this time. Let's face it, it wasn't normal political period, was it?
No.
It wasn't a time where politicians themselves were driving, even though they barely do these days, but driving policy. It was the science. Follow the science. We must follow the people, the chief medical officer. And a lot of this was pseudo-science, as we've come to find out from the White House, the social distancing, the masks they flip-flopped on. All of this stuff, we were told, don't question it or you'll be censored.
But they were very clever. They managed to terrify everybody, even me at the beginning as a GP, when they said people would be dropping down dead in my waiting room. So I thought, you know, a quick 3-week shutdown might be a good idea. After a week of seeing my cancer patients told they were no longer eligible for treatment,
Incredible.
I saw a 43-year-old woman with surgical suitable lung cancer, curable, cancelled.
Crazy.
The two words that I thought were most interesting in this report were modelling established that 23,000 lives could have been saved. If there's one thing that we learnt during this period, it is that modelling isn't a science. It's based off assumptions. Many of those assumptions are politically motivated. It goes to show that this was not, by any means, a report which aimed to learn lessons for the next pandemic. It was a backside covering exercise. That is entirely what this is about.
I believe that modelling was debunked as well, by the way. I'm pretty sure it was debunked. So
Neil Ferguson has been comprehensively debunked.
Correct. Kai.
Can I just pick up on that piece about the establishment and there being a cover-up? Because there's one group of people that doesn't come out well from this report, and it is the establishment. You've got to say. I mean, the civil service, Dominic Cummings in number 10, Boris Johnson, successive ministers really come under heavy fire in this report, right? So I wouldn't quite agree with your prognosis on that. But look, there's still time with this inquiry, right? There's still time. There are multiple stages. Later stages look at the economic impact, but right now it's really narrowly defined. What they need to be looking at, I agree with you, is all those second-order effects of locking people down in their homes that we didn't know at the time that it happened, but can know for the future pandemic that might be to come.
But we kind of did know after the first lockdown. After the first lockdown, we were seeing the number of babies turning up at Great Ormond Street with non-accidental head injuries because they were now locked at home with an abuser who was very frustrated. We saw people who couldn't afford food, so were going to food banks. We saw kids' mental health deteriorate. We saw more suicides. So we did know after the first, and we did it another 2 times.
And can I add, we had a plan in place for airborne viruses or pandemics, which every government had, and we ripped it up as soon as we saw what China was doing in a panic. This was not ever meant to happen. The response was never meant to happen.
I think this was one of the worst experiments again in human history. We're talking about experiments constantly.
And Trey, we know you lost your brother.
Exactly. I lost my brother, and I know it was like, some of the rules I agree with, because at his funeral about 30 people ended up with COVID and a lot of people got ill fine. But the reaction to it was just so draconian that it made it worse. And some of the most vulnerable people in society were worse off, economically, socially, psychologically speaking. We didn't have to go that far. And when you compare us to Sweden, were they any worse off than us?
Well, they were better off than us, actually. Far less people died and their economy thrived at the end of it all because they had a measured approach.
But isn't it a question of the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns? We don't know what we don't know, right? And I really do believe, I mean, maybe I'm naive, but I think lots of us did believe at the time that we had to do as much as we could, and that included draconian measures. Why is it
because MPs were busy partying, getting together. They were doing nothing that they
that's not true.
Do.
Neil Ferguson.
But I'm talking about really early on. I'm talking about really early on.
Kai, Neil Ferguson was sneaking across town to visit his mistress. He was
disgusting.
The motto-in-chief.
It's disgusting.
So he wasn't scared.
I agree with
you. None of them were scared. They seemed to know more than what we did.
Yeah, well, one of them was having an affair. He was famously caught the health minister, for goodness sake. He was slogging someone. I mean, it was meant to be social distancing.
We have the independent variables of Sweden and Japan that did not go down the lockdown path.
But we didn't at the start. Right.
They did not go down the lockdown path, and as a result, they have had less excess mortality than the United Kingdom.
I know, exactly. But we knew that. We know that now.
I think
did we know that then?
I think the public would have forgiven the government for having one lockdown, a short lockdown, and to see how the data responds to it. But by all accounts, when you look at the data afterwards, COVID spiked. You had people who were getting fresh air and going outdoors, all of a sudden stuck with 5 people living at home. Guess what? All those 5 people probably got COVID.
As a doctor, I can tell you that the data was here from Italy before we had anyone really in ITU. And that data was very clear. The people that were dying were over 70, they were men, they were overweight, and they had 3 comorbidities like high blood pressure, all of that. Of course, there will be outliers to that. And Trey, I'm forever sensitive that we're talking here and your brother died. God rest his soul. But we knew who it was. So what if we were going to do anything, we should have taken that data and protected those people.
Yeah. You know what I really take away from this report, and everything you've said, is the state is so fundamentally broken that all that information, all that decision-making that could have happened, that should have happened, failed to happen, and now the state today is in an even worse condition as a result of COVID, as a result of decisions made, and God forbid there's another one.
Can I just throw a few Googlies in here where the state wasn't inactive, in fact it was quite proactive, in rubbishing treatments? So they said very, very clearly that vitamin D did not help. It has been proven that people with low vitamin D's got worse COVID. Secondly, and who has worse COVID? People with dark skins. Secondly, ivermectin was rubbished so severely around the world that they suddenly called the drug that has been used on hundreds of millions of humans around the world, especially in Africa, a horse wormer. And they told people like me that I was talking rubbish because it was a horse wormer. There was an active PR campaign to shut down any treatments apart from the vaccine.
Big pharma has a big role to play in that. JJ here says, wear a mask to the cafe, went inside, sit down, eat to take it off, go to the bathroom, put it back on again, come out, people. It was madness. Absolutely right. I mean, I remember at one point I was flying to Madrid and I had to put well, the thing is, you were sitting next to people anyway. You're allowed to sit next to people on a plane, but as soon as we got into Spanish airspace, I had to put a mask on.
No, did I ever tell you?
started spraying aerosols through the cabins, and I'm thinking, aren't all these aerosols got like really dangerous chemicals?
Here's the uncomfortable truth. We're all laughing about it now because it's obviously ridiculous. Not enough people were laughing at the time. No. In fact, there was a lot of support for a lot of the measures that the government put in place. And that needs to be a lesson that we need to prioritise individual freedoms over silly government authoritarianism.
The thing is, they did such a big psyop on people. I've still got people now on their 6th booster who've had COVID 5 times. And when I say to them, it's not working, is it? They say, oh, it would have been much worse.
Oh, well, I hear that one all the time. I will say, what happened to the flu that year? I don't know. The flu just managed to disappear all of a sudden, didn't it? Anyway, there's a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News for free. Take a look at this.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Lots more debates coming up on this show. Kai, what have you got for us?
I'm going to be talking about the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood's whopper of a week.
Of course you are. You're with us Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's an unsettled day on Sunday in the UK, but it's also unsettled across parts of Greece with blustery showers. Meanwhile, for the Canaries, not too bad. Madeira seeing sunny spells and plenty of settled weather for Spain and parts of Portugal, although northern parts of Portugal into the south of France, there will be some rain, and it's showery across Italy, but more so for parts of Greece and Croatia, where there'll be some heavy downpours and strong winds. Very unsettled Central Med next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For the remainder of the weekend, it is going to be staying unsettled, a mix of clearer skies, but also plenty of showers and some quite strong winds possible in the west later Sunday through into Monday. For the time being, though, there are still going to be some spells of rain out there, particularly across parts of East Anglia, southeast England. Now, this will eventually clear away, allowing some drier spells of weather, soon being replaced, though, by some very blustery showers. At first, pushing into Northern Ireland and spreading eastwards into western areas of the country by the time we reach Sunday. So a very wet and windy start here, but for many areas in the east, mostly dry, though there is going to be plenty of cloud around, and it's still going to be quite a chilly start to the second half of the weekend. But largely frost-free. That's away from the far north of Scotland, though. More clear skies here, so it's likely there'll be a frosty start, possibly some icy patches. Mostly dry, though some showery outbreaks around the Northern Isles. But for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England, a very wet start, some quite heavy downpours at times, and similar around any eastern areas of England too. Some clearer skies across Wales and the southwest and eventually into central parts of England, but still some quite blustery showers here. Longer spells of rain eventually pushing into Northern Ireland and pushing northwards into Scotland, though we could start to see some sunshine by the afternoon, particularly across central areas of England and Wales, but once again can't rule out some showers. Not feeling quite as cold as it did last week, but in brisk winds, definitely feeling chilly, highs reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius across parts of the south. Into Monday, it is going to be another cold start, a return of the brisk northerly winds, which is going to make things feel that little bit chillier. Still some showers, but once again, mainly around exposed coasts, so many inland areas will see some sunshine, and lots of sunshine across the country on Tuesday too, but feeling cold once again with some overnight frost likely, and feeling cold during the day as well.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air, gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Please get in contact at gbnews.com/yoursay. Get your questions in for Ask the Five, please. I haven't seen enough Ask the Fives here. Thank you for your messages so far. Many of you talking about, of course, this COVID inquiry. Many of you saying here, why did we follow the WHO to the letter? This is Thomas here. Our politicians signed us up to the WHO's new rules during the inquiry. Yeah, we didn't even wait for the outcome, did we? It just, again, baffling, isn't it? Just absolutely baffling. This whole thing is just, it seems like it's a complete and utter farce, doesn't it, Renee?
It does indeed, and you know my views, and I have been very outspoken from almost the beginning. I wasn't initially, as I said, but I thought it was a good idea. There is a little bit of housekeeping.
Oh, yeah?
I'm getting a lot of messages saying, please don't let Will talk about the cricket.
Oh, yeah, what cricket? Nothing happened. Anyway, on that note, it's time for our next debate. Kai, what have you got for us this week?
I'm taking over. I'm talking about Shabana Mahmood's Whopper of a Week. Now, all week since she announced changes to the asylum system on Monday, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has been doing battle with everybody. She told Nigel Farage to sod off. She slammed the Lib Dems and the Greens, and she has announced these sweeping reforms, right, that will bring, that take inspiration from Denmark and plan to bring our asylum claims down, just like in Denmark they have, to their lowest in many, many decades. Now, the rules she's announced are huge differences, huge changes to the asylum system, reducing the pull factors that have made the UK a bit of a soft touch on immigration. Now, stricter rules on family reunions, changes to the use of Article 3 of the ECHR, and tougher restrictions on asylum claims. Really, this is what leadership looks like, isn't it? And we should all be willing her on. I think the Labour Party and friends of mine in the Labour Party should get in line, because on this issue, we can't afford her to fail. On the sustainability of the nation's finances, on security of our borders, on the safety of women and girls in this country, we should all be willing her on. So yes, that's what I'm saying. And actually, Shabana Mahmood has won plaudits internationally, hasn't she, for her approach?
I'll give you one thing. That actually is probably closer to what a leader looks like, but that's because we're used to seeing an uncharismatic robot lead the country for the last year. And she did look good when she was speaking. She looked like she had some gravitas. Yeah. Rhetorically, it was very powerful. It won't change the boat numbers one iota. Yeah. I can't understand.
Can I have a bet with you on that?
I can't understand why she didn't say one simple sentence, which is, if you get in a rubber dinghy and try and cross the channel, you will never settle in the United Kingdom. That is the one sentence policy that would stop the boats in the week, and she did not say it.
Can I just add on the back of that as well, when the Home Secretary was reading out the list of countries they're going to start this visa ban with, it was a glaring admission of Pakistan. Yeah, but Pakistan is the country that claims the highest number of asylum cases in the UK. But you know why it's not a war. At what point do we say, well, actually, Shabana Mahmood, why are you ignoring Pakistan as a country? Or are you going after these African nations?
I know, easy enough for you to say, you're not a politician, right? But this is obviously a common sense first step, isn't it? Angola, Namibia and DRC.
What I would say is
a shot across the bows to those countries is better as a first step than ripping up diplomatic relations with India and Pakistan.
They don't have diplomatic relations if they won't take back their foreign criminals.
With India and Pakistan.
Why not? Where is our backbone? You can't sit there and call her the next best thing when she clearly hasn't got a spine.
God, I would love to be at the negotiating table with you. 0 to 100 in one step.
That's exactly what I do.
You lose all your cards in one go.
Countries in the world. We've got one of the biggest economies in the world. Yeah, how useless is this government? government are defending
one of the biggest economies in the world. How does it stack up against India?
How does it stack up against Pakistan?
That is a load of rubbish, and you know it. You know it.
I'll let the audience be the judge of what's talking rubbish on this show.
I find it really interesting that people like your lovely self know we're very good friends, but for the last year you've been arguing against any of this against migrants.
No, I haven't.
That actually they're not a sexual threat to women, that, you know, they should be treated humanely, that they're not economic migrants, and suddenly everything Should says is right.
No.
Sort it out.
No, I think
that is not a fair.
I think
That's not fair framing.
I would imagine people are more towards the right would be actually celebrating this. And I'm quite surprised that you guys are like,
because it won't work.
Engineers, well done.
It's not going to work.
I will say,
I'm willing to have a bet with you on that.
I welcome the reforms, but they don't do enough. They are tough talk that isn't going to solve this crisis. Yes, we need to have these reforms, and it is frankly appalling the Tories didn't actually bother to do it in their 14 years in government. But actually, unfortunately, if you want to stop the boats, she's going to have to be...
Can I add, you talked about the safety of women and children. They're not going to detain these people when they arrive in the country. The threat will still exist, Kai, under these new reforms.
No, but there's all sorts of other work that the Labour government is doing to reduce the backlog. We all know that.
We haven't got, unfortunately, we haven't got time because we have to now move on to our next topic. Trey, what have you got for us?
Literally a similar topic, which I'm going to be speaking about, but instead of speaking about the boats, I'm actually going to be speaking about the brain drain. So everyone is locked into this debate about illegal immigration, how many visas, asylum seekers, how to clamp down, etc. It's relevant, but I'd argue a much more important thing is the danger. That's the danger of those people leaving, not those people actually coming. We're losing our most educated, the entrepreneurial, the inward investment makers, the business people, the innovators who are trying to get anywhere but here. Dubai, Portugal, the United States. That's actually a bigger thing that we should be worried about. I'll give you one example, right? So last year, 4,800 doctors qualified in another country left the UK in 2024. And some of them are talking about the kind of climate that we're creating in the UK, and that's why they wanted to leave. Or consider all of the entrepreneurs, all of those people that be created inward investment, all of those people that will be actually creating more of the tax base, they are all leaving the country. If we are a country already on our knees and we're struggling to build inward growth to attract investment, but instead of looking at we're obsessing over a couple of thousand people coming on boats, that probably looks like a better place for us to focus our attention on, those people that we're actually leaving. And if we don't fix it, I think this country is going to be in a whole heap of problems. What do you guys think?
There's a fancy term for this, and that's called a false dichotomy. What you're basically suggesting is this is an either-or issue. They're both problems, and we need to fix both of them.
But hang on, also, entrepreneurs all leaving. I mean, I know that we're not creating the best climate for entrepreneurs in this country.
Why is that,
But
Kai?
equally,
Why is that,
Trey,
Kai?
but equally, Alex, I'm making a point. Equally, all these stats that come out about entrepreneurs and wealthy people leaving are promoted by private wealth managers. Is it any surprise that they're making up and fiddling the figures?
Interesting. When I came up with this monologue, I knew I'm going to get attacked from the left, I'm going to get attacked from the right. But what I'm talking about is this. It's not either or. That's what I'm saying. There's not enough focus. And I say it again and again. I've been consistent here. You know I've been consistent, Alex. There's not enough focus on the inward investment, on the people that actually are leaving, on the kind of mood that we're creating in this place where some people don't even feel comfortable. So whether it's because they feel they're being taxed to death, or they feel that the climate is too much about immigration and it's creating an uncomfortable...
I will defend Kai here and say that the latest net migration report shows British people are leaving at record pace, and it's actually offsetting the immigration figures, unfortunately.
Well, that's what I wrote down. 1.2 million people came into the UK in the last set of figures, but it sounds like it's not many because more than 600,000 left, so the net figure sounds okay.
But those figures aren't from last year. Last year, the visa tightening meant that the figures dropped massively. And they've tightened more than the ONS had originally thought.
Who tightened the visas?
After the Tories?
Thank you.
Things will improve even more under Labour.
In any case, we are exchanging millionaires for low-skilled migrants.
Yes.
That is not a good economic policy. Trey, I argue for lower taxes and lower regulations almost every week on this show. That's not fair. And obviously this isn't an attractive place for millionaires, which is why there are more millionaires leaving this country than any other country in the world, possibly bar China.
Indeed. Right, well, while we're with you, Will, what have you got coming up for us very shortly?
Well, unfortunately, one of the reasons those millionaires are leaving are because of Conservative Party policies, and I've made the call this week the Conservatives are extinct.
Well, we'll see if that lasts another week because he has flip-flopped us on this before. So Saturday 5 live on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Of course, we've got more coming up for you today. Well, I just want to read a quick one of your comments here. Lee said, oh, good to see Alex representing GB News at the Pink Ladies protest in Chelmsford today. That was fun. It was very cold, very wet. We'll play some of those clips tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Barrett Boyce says things I can't say. Oh, one of our comments here said, Trey, when are you going to come out as a Liberal Democrat?
Well, that's a funny thing you should say. What did you just tell us?
I went to the ball this week, which is absolutely brilliant, the Lib Dem ball.
The Lib Dem ball.
Oh, there we go. We might actually have political balance on this panel. Who knows? I told you political balance. I'll once Tory, then Reform, then Tory, then Reform again. Will, you're up next.
Don't forget Rupert Lowe.
Well, the difference is I'm not party aligned. I'm aligned to principles.
Fair enough.
But you are right, Alex. I wouldn't say flip-flopped, but I've wavered on this question of the future of the Conservative Party, and part of it is emotional. At its very best, the Conservative Party was a force for tremendous good in this country. It is the most successful political party in modern Western history. But unfortunately, it has now become apparent that there is no future for the Conservative Party in Britain. Their own internal polling this week, which has been leaked to The Telegraph, revealed that, as it stands, they would win 14 seats at the next election. I take no joy in calling out the extinction of the Conservative Party, But the fact of the matter is, strategically, there is no lane for them now in modern UK politics. If you want to be left-wing, you go to the Labor Party or the loony Greens. If you want to be right-wing now, you go to Reform. If you want to be like Trey and you just want to feel warm and fuzzy but don't really believe anything, you go to the Liberal Democrats. There is no lane for the Conservative Party in modern Britain. They don't have a coherent strategy from which they can draw upon. To the extent they do, they're talking about fiscal responsibility, which is a very hard sell in Western politics in 2025. But above and beyond that, there is an emotional layer here. And the more people I speak to, the feeling of betrayal is so deep, is so deep for so many people. And the emotion of betrayal is something which is very, very hard to overcome. I take no joy in saying this, but I don't believe the Conservatives will ever win another election. There'll be amalgamations with Reform. Something will happen in terms of those parties finding a way to accommodate. But in its current form, the Conservatives are done.
Okie dokie. Well, maybe I'll let you come back to this first, Kai. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm getting out the party poppers as we speak. No, I've thought about this a fair deal. I'm sure they're pretty annoyed that they didn't agree to proportional representation. But nothing is forever, right? And if we just... I mean, lots of people love to tell me polls aren't accurate this far out of election. I don't think that's right. I think the Tories, this election and a few future elections are done. But I wouldn't write them off because the space that Reform inhabits is still, and I know they're trying to move away from this and they might be successful in this, is still quite singly focused on immigration, and still they lack a lot of the firepower campaigning-wise, but also more particularly the sort of experience in government that the Tories still do have, in their ranks. And so I think Reform will struggle in their first iteration if they win the next election, which they likely will.
Agree. But you think the Tories are dead?
And then I think they cede the ground. I don't think the Tories are dead, no.
No. OK, Trey?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think, and not only that, when I think Reform, I do think a couple of single issues, but I also think Nigel Farage, who is, as a leader, he's charismatic, people follow him. If he wasn't there, would Reform have that level of support? I think Kemi's probably going to be gone. You know, Jenrick comes in, he's going to steal a lot of that fund. I don't think you could ever write off the Tories, and their pockets are so deep.
Well, I think it's an interesting topic, actually, because I think there's a really interesting history in British politics, which is that parties over time evolve and change. The Tories didn't exist forever. They came out of separate parties back hundreds of years ago, and then they merged with others over time, the same way the Labour Party merged with other parties and formed itself today. I think naturally, the right of the country will find a natural home where the parties will coalesce again. But I think the same is happening to the Labour Party. Look at Polanski in the Green Party, hot on Keir Starmer's heels, beating them now in a few polls, which you would have just completely gone... If you'd said this to someone 10 years ago, you would have laughed at them. But this is the new politics we're facing, and it's because the two established parties have unfortunately let the country down time and time again, and their voters down. Renee?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think that they've done their time. They're being punished. They're going to be in punishment corner for quite some time. But I don't think we can ever say they're going to be finished. They are the oldest political party that exists, and I think they will reinvent themselves and they will be back. We've just got a bit of time before we get to that point.
Political parties can and do die, Renee, and it's happened often throughout both UK and Western political history. The one thing none of you have acknowledged is the degree of hurt and betrayal amongst the right in this country.
Can I just add one point?
People are going to forget that.
Can I just add one point? Parties die, but people's values live on, and they take those values to new parties with them, and then I think what happens is those parties end up then becoming very similar to the parties before them.
I agree. That's why I said the Conservatives in their current form will not win another election. They will coalesce around Reform and that particular movement.
I think everybody felt when the Tories were in power that the reason that they couldn't achieve anything is a little bit like the Labour Party is now, that they've got too many disparate groups within the party. And I think what will happen over time is we will end up with very distinct parties of similar people rather than the Lib Dems in every party, which is what we've got
We're sort
now.
of seeing that now, right? It's looking like the next election could even be sort of 5 different big parties chasing quite distinct voter groups. Now, under our own system, that really messes things up in Parliament. That might change. But Will, don't you think that...
Trey, hang on, just before you go to Will, Trey, do you think the Conservatives' biggest failure was kicking Nigel Farage out of the party? Well, not kicking him out, but basically refusing to have him back.
No, I don't think that was a failure. I think... Do you know what I'm starting to see now? I think it's a lack of characters. I think on the Greens, they've got a good character, Farage, good character. And all the Tories need is a good character. It's got nothing to do with Farage. If they'd kept him in Shaw, they'd have someone someone with great character that could lead. But all they need is someone to emerge that hasn't been tainted too much by the past, and I think they're going to be back.
No,
last question.
No, they need to be conservative. And the whole problem is they weren't conservative for 15 years, and that's why they now find themselves in the position they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, loads more to come on the show tonight. Elon Musk says none of us will be working in 20 years and work will be optional. Why can't it just happen today? Is it? Well, yeah, that's true.
4 million.
Renee's going to talk about the flag being demonised. I'll be talking about Farage rebuking Trump's peace plan. Trey's going to be talking about Trump and Mamdani, that socialist New York mayor. And Kai's going to be talking about something I can't quite read it. Anyway.
Oh, how convenient.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For the remainder of the weekend, it is going to be staying unsettled. A mix of clearer skies, but also plenty of showers and some quite strong winds possible in the west later Sunday through into Monday. For the time being, though, there are still going to be some spells of rain out there, particularly across parts of East Anglia, southeast England. Now, this will eventually clear away, allowing some drier spells of weather, soon being replaced, though, by some very blustery showers. At first, pushing into Northern Ireland and spreading eastwards into western areas of the country by the time we reach Sunday. So a very wet and windy start here, but for many areas in the east, mostly dry, though there is going to be plenty of cloud around, and it's still going to be quite a chilly start to the second half of the weekend. But largely frost-free. That's away from the far north of Scotland, though. More clear skies here, so it's likely there'll be a frosty start, possibly some icy patches. Mostly dry, though some showery outbreaks around the Northern Isles. But for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England, a very wet start, some quite heavy downpours at times, and similar around any eastern areas of England too. Some clearer skies across Wales and the southwest and eventually into central parts of England, but still some quite blustery showers here. Longer spells of rain eventually pushing into Northern Ireland and pushing northwards into Scotland, though we could start to see some sunshine by the afternoon, particularly across central areas of England and Wales, but once again, can't rule out some showers. Not feeling quite as cold as it did last week, but in brisk winds, definitely feeling chilly, highs reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius across parts of the south. Into Monday, it is going to be another cold start, a return of the brisk northerly winds, which is going to make things feel that little bit chillier. Still some showers, but once again, mainly around exposed coasts, so many inland areas will see some sunshine, and lots of sunshine across the country on Tuesday too, but feeling cold once again with some overnight frost likely, and feeling cold during the day as well.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
Taxes and rent to the cost of living. Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there.
With expert analysis breaking down what it means for you.
Budget day, all day Wednesday. Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. I see, we're getting better at that, aren't we? It's the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm, of course, Alex Armstrong, alongside Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Trelo, and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
we'll be answering your questions in Ask the Five.
Our Saturday scrap. Is Nigel Farage right that charity starts at home?
And we'll be chatting with Kate Harris from the LGB Alliance about new appearance-based trans rules.
And at 8 p.m, could your family live off the grid?
And don't forget, a whole new batch of Trigger Tantrums.
Yes, it's 7 p.m, and this is the Saturday 5. And of course, this show is nothing without your views. gbnews.com/yoursay. But before we start sharing each other apart, it's the Saturday Night News with Bethany Elsey.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories at 7:01. The Prime Minister has spoken on the phone with Ukraine's president and the US president about the US proposed peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. World leaders will continue discussions in Switzerland tomorrow as well. Sir Keir Starmer and other European leaders say the draft includes essential elements for a just and lasting peace between Ukraine and Russia, but that it requires additional work. The controversial 28-point proposal would see Vladimir Putin walk away with full ownership over the Donbass regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, as well as Crimea. Donald Trump has given Volodymyr Zelensky less than a week to decide whether to approve the plans or risk losing weapons and intelligence. Sir Keir Starmer says Ukraine should have the final say.
One of the elements in the 28-point plan is the security guarantee from the US, an Article 5 guarantee. That's about the strongest guarantee that can be put forward. And so that fortifies in me the belief that what we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace, but it'll only be just and lasting if there are security guarantees and if we bear in mind that matters for Ukraine are always to be determined by Ukraine.
At least 90 people have been arrested at a Palestine Action protest in central London this afternoon. Around 100 people turned out for the demonstration and were met by several hundred police officers. Those carried off were adamant the protest was as much about free speech and the right to protest as it was about supporting Palestinians. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 20 people and wounded more than 80. That's despite a ceasefire supposedly still in place. The first attack hit a car in the densely populated residential area, and 2 further strikes hit homes in the central Gaza Strip. The owner of the Daily Mail is in talks to buy the Daily Telegraph and its Sunday sister title for £500 million. The Daily Mail and General Trust says it has entered exclusive negotiations with Redbird IMI to finalise the terms of the transaction. The Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, will review the potential new deal. A 13-year-old girl has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found dead at her home in Wiltshire. Police officers were called to a house in Swindon yesterday evening after receiving a report of a disorder. The woman, who was in her 50s and lived at the address in Baden Close in Morden, died at the scene. The 13-year-old was later arrested in connection and remains in police custody. And Australia have beaten England by 8 wickets in the first Ashes test in Perth. England captain Ben Stokes admitted he was left shell-shocked after Australia crushed his side in just 2 days. That's the fastest Ashes defeat in over 100 years. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Alex Armstrong, and as ever, I can promise that you are in for a very lively hour. Well, it's our main event now. Let's crack on with it, shall we? And as ever, you have been voting in our poll on today's Saturday Scrap. And here are the results. Is Nigel Farage right? Charity starts with UK citizens, and a whopping 85% of you want us to talk about that. The other two were, should Ukraine accept the Trump plan? 10%. Should we ban social media for under 16-year-olds? 5%, of course.
Much like the cricket, a pretty conclusive result.
What cricket? There wasn't a cricket game. I don't know what you're talking about. So we will be talking about charity starting at home, of course. Nigel Farage is renewing his call for the UK to drastically cut foreign aid, arguing that charity should start with UK citizens. The Reform UK leader says reducing the aid budget to $1 billion would free up billions for public services at home. So, is Nigel Farage right? Charity starts with UK citizens. Seconds out. It's round 1.
OK. I'm going to start because it's Kai. So I'm very tempted in this debate to just say, of course, he's right and just move on. But I will put a little bit of padding around it. So this week, Nigel said that he could get 25 billion just in straight cuts and costs. And he outlined where he would do that. The foreign aid bill, which is about 15 billion, is going to go down to 1 billion. The universal credit to foreign nationals, scrapping it. That's going to save another 8 billion. And doubling the NHS premium for foreign nationals will raise 5 billion. And I say, hurrah. Why? Because there are 7,500 to 20,000, depending on whose estimate you take, homeless veterans sleeping on our street. There are 220,000 non-UK nationals sleeping on our streets. What are they doing? They're not working and paying tax. So they're going to need housing. They're going to need recourse to benefits at some point. Foreign aid. We're giving foreign aid to China, Mexico, Malaysia, who are wealthier than many parts of the UK. For example, we gave a Chinese all-female opera group a lot of money in Shanghai. We gave $500,000 to electric vehicles for Albanian prisons. We gave 133,000 to Shrimp Health in Bangladesh. I mean, we gave money to gender disinformation in Kenya, to women's affairs in the Jordanian, a Middle Eastern country sitting on oil that it actually does take out of the ground, military. It's madness. And I know that people come back and say, oh, well, you know, we need this foreign aid because then we don't get migrants. Clearly, that's a load of tosh because we've got migrants coming out of every orifice that we could imagine. And we don't benefit from teaching people how to sing in China. We don't benefit from talking about gender disinformation in Kenya. That doesn't stop migrants coming here. None of this does. Then they'll say, oh, they're only tiny amounts, Renee. But, you know, every time you've got 500,000 and 500,000, it adds up pretty quickly. Nigel Farage is absolutely right. Everything should now be focused inwards. We are in a mess. We are crumbling. We've got people who can't put food on their table or houses over their heads. It's time to spend our money at home.
Well, I'm the first person to say shrimp lives matter. We shouldn't scrimp on shrimp. No, honestly, though, I mean, you've fallen hook, line and sinker there for Nigel Farage's dodgy maths, Dr. Renee. I'm not quite sure where he got those from, but for sure the government doesn't agree. But on foreign aid, you know, we've discussed this quite a bit in recent months, and I agree it's very easy to pick out silly projects here and there. They do amount to a lot, and I think the majority of them should be stopped. But that 1 billion, that almost just covers the grant block that the Global Fund gets, right, for tackling HIV/AIDS all across the world. Why does that matter? Well, we know that there are tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of deaths taking place across the world now as a direct result of the US's cutting its aid funding and many Western countries following suit in doing so. That matters for us because AIDS, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, these are issues that, left unchecked, come to our shores. Now, no doubt we need to do better on protecting our own, but also that other part that Dr. Renee sort of skated over in Nigel Farage's plans is those plans to take away the opportunity to claim benefits from EU nationals, people who work in this country, who pay in through taxes into the system, who work hard, who might have fallen on hard times, who might be between jobs, but who should not be deprived access to the NHS, should not be deprived access to contributing fully to our great country.
No one's going to be deprived access to the NHS, I can tell you that, Kai. I work on it. Nobody who turns up in A&E giving birth or with a broken leg is ever going to be turned away. So
just
that's
pay for the privilege.
Nonsense. And they'll never get charged. I've seen the bills go. They
charge more.
They'll never get charged for using it. We need to stop people arriving on our shores. We need to stop all of the visas, and we need to stop people using the NHS as the international tourist centre for health.
OK, let's open it up to the rest of the panel. Will, should we be cutting back foreign aid?
Yeah, of course we should. Kai, even if you're correct, even if cutting the foreign aid budget would lead to more deaths overseas...
It has.
It would inevitably save more lives in the United Kingdom. At the moment, it's almost impossible to get a doctor's appointment, for example. You could find ways in order to make the NHS stronger, which would save lives here. What you failed to establish is why it's more important to save lives in Africa as opposed to the United Kingdom, because the fundamental principle of a government is your first priority is to the people who voted you in.
Did you? It was. No,
hang on, let Trey speak. He's just been speaking for it. Just be quiet.
He just accused Trey of saying that it's a zero-sum game, and now he's doing the same thing.
Go on. You guys know where I stand on the Commonwealth, right? And I think there is a duty of care for Britain to take care of Commonwealth countries. Why? Because we've always been in it together for ages now, whether it's wars. Lots of times we've come to the aid of Britain, and therefore it should be safeguarded. But you forget another thing, though. It's not just about aid, though, is it? It's about influence. So give Africa, for example. If Britain completely removes itself from aid, etc., blah, 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 and then China comes in, we're always talking about China. How do we keep our influence in these countries if there's not some sort of connection?
You know that China already owns almost all of Africa.
Not all of it, though, but that's because as we're withdrawing from these places, you forget, look, a century from now, where's Africa going to be? We're talking about the youngest population. We've got a GDP that's growing fast. Don't you want to stay in there?
That's one
Don't
of
you want to be part of it?
I will say this. I do have a slight problem with this argument, which is we have poured collectively in the West billions and billions and billions and billions of pounds into Africa. Now, at what point do you say you guys have kind of got to make it on your own? You do have to try and make your societies work. You have to remove corruption, and you have to let people get on with it. You wouldn't, if your child grows up 40 years later and you're still looking after your child, feeding them every day, tying their shoelaces
that's
straight,
wrong.
You would have failed as a parent.
Wrong. Let me tell you why that's wrong, though. People think it's a one-way street. Do you know how much we've actually taken from Africa at the same time?
Well,
do you know, because we've had those actual relationships with Africa which we've taken? Where do you think a lot of the oil, a lot of the minerals come from? You don't think Europe has this historical
I'm arguing we should.
You think the UK doesn't have a historical
but I'm arguing, Trey, that
so it's not a case of we're just giving Africa and it's on its knees. Not only that...
But I'm also arguing that we should pay for those things. Those things should be on the free market and people should pay for them.
Yeah, but there is preferential treatment often between Britain and a lot of its former colonies.
But I think there should be a free market. And there should be a free market.
But it is these days. You guys don't know. For instance, you know, I know for first-hand when there are a lot of conversations in Nigeria, for instance, around oil, etc., often there'll be a representative there from the UK and from America. There are lots of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we're not always privy to. It's not just foreign aid. There's lots of relationships that are maintained because of that, and it is a two-way street.
I'm looking forward to my reparations for my forefathers being dumped in the harsh conditions of Australia in 1788, that's for sure.
Yeah, Renee?
Yeah, I mean, this argument is just a nonsensical. We have got people here who cannot be housed, who cannot get a doctor's appointment, who cannot get their cataract surgery, who can't get their cancer treatment, who can't put food on their table. Apparently, they're so poor.
And that's just an emotive
Apparently, they're so poor that we now have to feed them at school.
You think if we pumped another 7 billion to them, it won't get inefficient again?
I can't believe
it's not either or.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not an either or.
You said earlier that you can't position things as an either or all the time. You accused Trey of doing that, and this is exactly what you're doing now. You're saying aid, it takes away directly, and will always take away directly, from housing homeless people, from saving the NHS. That is ludicrous.
Alex, I know you're trying to move on. I was speaking in a completely different context. Government is about trade-offs. A budget, the whole point of it is allocation of resources. Of course it's a zero-sum game.
OK, yes, I tend to agree with Renee and Will on this one. I think the argument is we're getting a lot back. We don't actually get much back anymore, unfortunately. It's become a bit of a one-way street.
Don't forget the shrimps.
And I want these countries to thrive on their own, I do. Anyway, look, there's only a few weeks left until Christmas, talking of giveaways, and it's time to, well, its time is running out for you to enjoy all on us. It's 40 grand, tax-free cash, £1 grand to spend on your favourite supermarket, and a fantastically festive GB News goodie bag for under the tree too. You'll get it all in time for the big day. Here's all the details.
There's just 33 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for that big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Men.
Oh, they're still chatting away here in the studios. I'm trying to get and do my job. Right, coming up, leaked guidance suggests transgender people could be barred from single-sex spaces based on appearance. A move sparking concerns and calls for clarity, particularly from Kai. As the details will be up on that next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
you're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. As ever, I want to hear what you have to say. gbnews.com/your say. And while you're there, type in Ask the 5. You can ask us anything you like, and this lot here, we'll read it out for you.
Would you say that we respond to more audience comments than any other show on GB News?
I would say that. Yeah. We do respond to more comments than any other show on GB News.
We certainly read them. We sit here and
we do
and
have a giggle. Not every. We can't read every single, but we try to read as many as we can. A lot of you here are, of course, talking about our previous topic, which is about foreign aid. Many of you saying, actually, we know we shouldn't be giving out any foreign aid at all. It should all go to homeless people. It should all go to people who are hard up. Many of you saying we need mass deportations, which is a common theme in your say anyway, which is great because I think that would also free up a lot of money, wouldn't it? Anyway, thank you for all your messages. Keep them coming. But moving on now, because could transgender people be banned from women's toilets based on how they look? It's more than 6 months since women's rights campaign has celebrated. It's 6 months, wow, outside the Supreme Court ruling, of course. That is a person's sex is defined by biology, not gender identity. But it's still being ignored by some NHS trusts, councils and businesses. And now it's being reported that trans people could be stopped from using single-sex spaces due to their appearance under equality's guidance. Well, Green Party leader Zach Polansky posted on X. He said this: "This is awful and beyond the realms of what anyone would see as basic decency for human beings. It's awful not just for trans people, but for anyone who doesn't present with narrow stereotypes of femininity and doesn't want the state policing women's appearance." Well, to discuss this, I'm pleased to welcome co-founder of the LGB Alliance, Kate Harris. Kate, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Look, many people will say this debate should have been settled by the Supreme Court, but it's still raging on as in parts of the government and the NHS, as I said, in councils. Is this a welcome next step, or is this a backward step?
It's a ludicrous non-story. The fact that, you know, you're even mentioning Zach Polansky, who doesn't know what a woman is, makes it even more ludicrous. If we rephrase it to say men are going to be not allowed into women's loos, then I think everybody's clear that it's perfectly rational and that is a necessary outcome from the Supreme Court ruling. That's all it is.
The guidance to say on someone's appearance is a fair way to tackle this problem, and many people will agree with that sentiment. Of course, I think many people will agree with your sentiments about Polansky. Not obviously, he hasn't been able to define what a woman is yet. Does I think believe that women may be able to have other genitals,
unless he's hypnotising them.
Yeah. What would you say to this guidance about appearance?
Well, as I said, it is a pretty much a non-story. But let's talk about it for a little while, and then hopefully we can talk about the most important story of the day, which is the puberty blockers trial. But on this story, the point is that we live in a society where we have a social contract, and we've grown up over the years to respect each other's needs for certain areas into which we don't intrude. So I don't go into a children's art class. I'm not a child. I don't go into a men's changing room for their game of rugby. They don't come into my loo. And what's particularly infuriating about this is that so many of the men who have been raging and calling women like me transphobic bigots for saying that I don't consider that a man can become a lesbian are now extremely excited about the fact that somebody might say to me, oh, you can't go into that lavatory because you're a bloke. Well, what I would say to all those men is, you can put your faux concerns where the sun don't shine. I've been misgendered since the 1950s. I was called a nipper growing up. All my life, I have been challenged when I go into loos, and every day today, I'm spending a bit of time in France at the moment, and every single day, I'm called monsieur. The point here is that we don't care. Lesbians don't care if people call us nipper or bloke or monsieur, because all we do is turn around and say, hi. It's okay, I'm a woman. This is a non-issue for lesbians, but it's being weaponized by the idiots who, on the other hand, say that we're transphobic bigots for saying that a man is a man. It's a very, very, very silly place to be.
Indeed, Renee.
Hi, Kate. Thank you for that. Hi. And I agree. I was going to say before you said that we've actually been judging men and women on what they look like forever. That's how we've always done it, and that's what we can carry on doing. The fact that businesses are saying it might be expensive, well, they always used to have 2 toilets, so they're going to need to do it again. I guess the most important thing here in this part of the conversation, because I'd love to talk about puberty blockers too, is that statements from men like Zach always negate the feelings of you and I. It's all about the men who want to be in women's space and how cruel it is to them without any consideration of us.
It's funny that, isn't it? But that's the way it goes. And, I just want to say, repeat, I don't care. There are bigger issues. Call me what you want. But men need to respect women's boundaries. Any man who continues to go into a women's loo is guilty of committing what equates to sexual harassment. They know we don't want them in there. They post photographs of themselves in there doing all sorts of most unpleasant things, because the reason they go in there is the thrill of breaking the boundary. So let's not mess about anymore. I know I have a very good trans friend who's a builder, who cross-dresses, who calls himself trans. He says, I will always go in the men's loos because I'm a bloke. And it's up to the men to adapt their lives. Men need to change the way they treat other men. This is a non-issue for women. We do not want you in our loos. Stay away. Our loos are for women for very good reasons. Single-sex spaces.
Well then, Kate, I agree entirely. On puberty blockers, which we have discussed already this evening, the sense that I get from some advocates of puberty blockers is that you can put a 14-year-old on them, and then if they change their mind in a year's time, you can take them off, puberty resumes, all well and good. Is that the case, or are there long-term and irreversible effects of going on puberty blockers in your teenage years?
Yes, the effects are not reversible. The NHS told us for years that they were, because the NHS had been lobbied for years by transgender activists like Gires, like Stonewall, like Mermaids, who had lied and lied and lied. We know perfectly well that the damage that they do is irreversible. We know that for most of the gays and lesbians, well, I should say that most of the kids who start going onto puberty blockers are gay and lesbian. This is a form of conversion therapy. So what we see in this dreadful pathways description is that they're treating gender incongruence and gender dysphoria. What do they think gays and lesbians have? We have gender incongruence and we have gender dysphoria. So this is a scandal of the worst kind. This cannot be allowed to go ahead in 2025. I don't know what Wes Streeting is thinking of. We have to stop it. We need a hashtag, block the blockers. This is cruelty of the worst kind. This is experimental medicalization of children that was outlawed by the Helsinki Declaration, which came about following the horrors of World War II.
Yes, exactly.
So here we are in 2025 spending £10 million to risk sterilising kids, most of whom will be gay and lesbian. 200 kids,
Kai, I'd like
putting their lives at risk.
Sorry to interrupt, Kay, because I'd like to bring Kai into the conversation.
Hi there. I just want to pick you up on some of your comments. You know, you're saying that you represent, that you don't care, as you know, about some of these issues around toilets and that around puberty blockers. You know.
No. I said I don't. I just said I don't care about
people, how they would describe themselves.
Misgendering me.
Can I finish the question?
Right.
But what would you say to those people, LGBT people, who actually, the majority of whom would say that they do care about those things and that gay men and women don't necessarily have gender incongruence, that's something separate, and that you don't speak for them?
Well, I don't think there is such a thing as an LGBT person. It's a confection, it's a concoction, it doesn't exist. There are people who are same-sex attracted. Sorry?
That's a minority view, though, isn't it?
That's an irrelevant point. It's an irrelevant point.
It's not a view, it's a fact. There are people who are same-sex attracted, fact one. Fact two, there are people who call themselves trans, who have identity issues where they think they're a person of the opposite sex. There is no connection. That is not an opinion, that is a fact.
Yep.
So the people who think that young gays and lesbians need to have breasts removed, need to have their penis removed, their testicles removed, need to be made sterile, lose all sexual function, lose bone density, lose the progression of their brain development, are people who really don't know the evidence. They don't know what they're talking about. This is dangerous stuff which destroys the physical and mental health of very vulnerable people, mainly gays and lesbians, but also people, kids. There's a high representation, as Cass found, of kids who are in care, kids who have comorbidities. This is evil on a scale that we haven't seen ever in the world.
I have to leave the debate there, unfortunately, Kai. Kate, bastion of common sense as ever, co-founder of LGBT Alliance. Kate Harris, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us tonight, Kate, as ever. Really appreciate it. Still to come tonight. The greatest irony in the world, COP30 in Brazil, has gone up in flames. Find out why next.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's an unsettled day on Sunday in the UK, but it's also unsettled across parts of Greece with blustery showers. Meanwhile, for the Canaries, not too bad. Madeira seeing sunny spells and plenty of settled weather for Spain and parts of Portugal, although northern parts of Portugal into the south of France, there will be some rain, and it's showery across Italy, but more so for parts of Greece and Croatia, where there'll be some heavy downpours and strong winds. Very unsettled Central Med next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For the remainder of the weekend, it is going to be staying unsettled. A mix of clearer skies, but also plenty of showers and some quite strong winds possible in the west later Sunday through into Monday. For the time being, though, there are still going to be some spells of rain out there, particularly across parts of East Anglia, southeast England. Now, this will eventually clear away, allowing some drier spells of weather, soon being replaced, though, by some very blustery showers. At first, pushing into Northern Ireland and spreading eastwards into western areas of the country by the time we reach Sunday. So a very wet and windy start here, but for many areas in the east, mostly dry, though there is going to be plenty of cloud around, and it's still going to be quite a chilly start to the second half of the weekend. But largely frost-free. That's away from the far north of Scotland, though. More clear skies here, so it's likely there'll be a frosty start, possibly some icy patches. Mostly dry, though some showery outbreaks around the Northern Isles. But for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England, a very wet start, some quite heavy downpours at times, and similar around any eastern areas of England too. Some clearer skies across Wales and the southwest and eventually into central parts of England, but still some quite blustery showers here. Longer spells of rain eventually pushing into Northern Ireland and pushing northwards into Scotland, though we could start to see some sunshine by the afternoon, particularly across central areas of England and Wales, but once again, can't rule out some showers. Not feeling quite as cold as it did last week, but in brisk winds, definitely feeling chilly, highs reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius across parts of the south. Into Monday, it is going to be another cold start, a return of the brisk northerly winds, which is going to make things feel that little bit chillier. Still some showers, but once again, mainly around exposed coasts, so many inland areas will see some sunshine, and lots of sunshine across the country on Tuesday too, but feeling cold once again with some overnight frost likely, and feeling cold during the day as well.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay, and get your questions in for Ask the 5. It is rapidly approaching. I'll just read out a couple of your comments here. Angela said, Kai, I love you, but ask our 31-year-old autistic son. He thought he could be trans because he couldn't figure out why he was different and why he found relationships so hard. But now, yes, he is bi, but definitely not trans. In fact, he condemns the so-called people, called caring people, who encourage young people to believe they are trans. There you have it. There you go. Someone who knows.
And I've got Jiminy Cricket says, please, can we highlight the disgusting and dangerous shared showers and changing villages? I hate taking my 6-year-old granddaughter to be faced with an 18-stone beer something man.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
No, I agree with that. We've had those for ages, if you remember leisure centres back in when I was growing up. But no, to the point, you know, I think there has been a bit of social contagion on some of these issues where people have been led to believe that there's something they're not. But that doesn't distract from the fact that some people would wish to erase the entire existence of trans people who are legitimately trans and who seem to be erased completely from this conversation.
All right, we don't have time to debate it again, but because now it's time for this. Right, it's a bunch of fun. Will, what have you got for us?
Bite my tongue because I hate that term, erase the existence. But anyway, you're right, we will stop. Yeah. We all know that there are millions of survivors in this country who are sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing, claiming benefits. According to Elon Musk, in 10 to 20 years' time, there's going to be a lot more. His hypothesis is that because of the advancements in AI and robotics, basically work will become optional. Currency won't be a thing. Things will be produced so cheaply that you won't even have to work. You can just sit at home and focus on creative passions or play PlayStation or whatever. Now, I think this is a very high IQ individual, maybe misunderstanding the EQ side of this conversation. It wouldn't be the first time that Elon Musk has gone down that route. But even if this was to be the case, I think this would be a tragedy for society, team, in terms of a loss of purpose for so many people. What do you think?
Agree. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think he's right. I think with AI and robotics, you see some of these humanoid robots that have started being released now to the public, and you just think this is the future we've welcomed with open arms. We forgot about all of this important stuff. They are rubbish now, but they will get very good as it does. You know?
I actually read something from Matt Walsh last week that actually left me really depressed. He said that within the next 5 to 10 years, 25 to 100,000 jobs will be lost. Our children will go to school for 12 years and learn absolutely nothing, and we have already seen the last literate generation.
Yeah, maybe right. Renee, what have you got for us, Bunch of Five?
OK, so there's been another survey today that says 52% of ethnic minorities now believe our flag to be racist. Now, I've come from growing up in the 70s where, honestly, there was a lot of racism around, and the flag then was hijacked by people who were definitely racist. And my partner at the time, when I was into the 80s, was black, and I took an awful lot of stick for that in the East End of London, and those flags were there. We have reclaimed that flag over the years, and we are reclaiming it now. And I would postulate that these surveys are designed to scare people into not raising the flag, not being patriotic. This is something that people want us to believe.
Postulate? It's very posh all of a sudden. No, I agree, but that, you can. Okay, people have people do have a long memory, don't they? And I think some of these people just remember when the St George's Cross was still very much related to racism and football hooliganism. I don't think it's the case anymore, but you can see where it comes from.
Trey, do you think the flag is racist?
No, God, no, not at all. And that's the reason why I sit here, because I really want to bring some sort of balance to that. Interesting, they said it was the not the Union flag. They were talking about more which is actually interesting, because when we grew up, we thought of the BNP and it was the Union flag. No, I don't think the flag is racist at all, but I can understand why ethnic minorities do feel that way.
Why? Go on, just give us a quick reason.
Because I think they're getting the message of this is our country and you guys all need to go back. And I think when they hear that, they also think that it means us. All sorts of people who were born there, first generation, second generation.
That's a failure of integration. Kai, if a racist sits in a chair, it doesn't suddenly make the chair racist. Just because some bad people have co-opted it for a particular purpose doesn't change the objective fact that it is the flag of England.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just explaining how people make these connections. It's not rocket science, Will.
OK.
So you want people to raise flags up the lamppost?
We've got to move on, sorry. We've got to move on. I totally agree. As you can imagine, I saw the beautiful flags today in Chelmsford. Absolutely fantastic. The Telegraph reported today, and of course, as has happened, Nigel Farage has rebuked Donald Trump's peace plan with Ukraine. Of course, this is many people are pointing to the fact that Labour keep casting him as some sort of Vladimir sympathiser, despite that's been debunked a billion times. He's not, is he, Kai? He's not a Vladimir sympathiser, is he?
No, I don't think so. I think he hangs around with a few, and again, we can talk about the importance of that. It's relevant information for people. People don't like that, but he has to do this because he needs to be serious, and any serious person would jettison this plan of Trump's.
Yeah, he's saying, Trey, that they shouldn't be allowed. They should be cutting their army in half to 600,000. Which is part of the peace plan.
Trey likes it.
No, I get that you guys might think what I'm saying is controversial, but I think the war should never have happened. I think why did we not just say that Ukraine would be a neutral country, a bit like Switzerland? No, but
the war's happened.
No, but, you know, I'll tell you one thing I do like about Trump. At least he's trying to do something to stop this.
But that's nonsense.
It's not ideal. It's not great.
That's nonsense.
European leaders would have just carried on forever and ever and ever.
That is nonsense.
Trey, I would never think anything you would say is controversial. Don't worry.
But he's trying to do something, and I know it's not ideal, but it's something.
That's not the bar,
Trey. It's not going to be set in stone.
That's not the bar.
But if it just stops the war now, if people in those regions in the future vote to be part of Ukraine, and we can come with some sort of framework,
do you know why he wants to stop the war?
Might do that.
Because he doesn't want to spend any more American money on it, and he also wants to rebuild Ukraine and let companies make trillions.
And on that point, Trey, what is your bunch of five?
Well, sticking with Mr. Donald Trump, it's actually Donald Trump meeting Mr. Mandami. Everyone that was calling Mandami this socialist.
He's the mayor of New York, the new mayor of New York.
The new mayor of New York. and I can't even repeat some of the stuff that people on the right were talking about him. But Trump apparently really, really loved him.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say
okay.
yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
I think that's brilliant. I really do think that's brilliant because I think there's a lot of scaremongering around the mayor. There's a lot of Islamophobia, whether people admit it or not. There is. The fact that he's a Muslim mayor, oh my God, it's going to be so bad.
It is.
The world is going to end because he's Muslim. Absolute nonsense. Right, I think Trump recognises what it is. New York's a tough city. They can deal with whatever mayor comes.
All right, Kai, what have you got for us?
Well, because I'm a bit of a political nerd, I have a political crush, a polling crush. Luke Trill and More in Common come out with some cracking polling this week for International Men's Day. It shows that there's an increasingly large cohort of disillusioned young men. 1 in 8 in the UK are deeply disillusioned with the state of the country. They think that equality has come at the expense of men, but they're very lonely, stressed, and feel like a failure. It's horrifying, really. I hope the government tries to actually tackle this issue a bit more. Half are worried that they'll be criticised for speaking with other men about men's issues. It's a damn shame.
And those are the issues that we've been highlighting on this show for the last 2 years, that how lost men are, and we have made them thus way. And, you know, what they've got to remember is if the voting bloc becomes women, women want to be recognised as women, so they need to just start accepting that. And men need to understand that it's fine for them to be masculine.
Absolutely right.
Do you know, I want to quickly say something, because I do love the fact that GB News has highlighted it. This is a conversation no one's having, and it's killing men. I love the fact that I think if you could sort out this issue, you sort out a lot of the issues in the Western world if you can just deal with men.
Well, there we go. Still to come tonight, though. President Trump scolds a journalist on Air Force One. Trigger Tantrums is next week, Saturday 5, live on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
Great pleasure of speaking to a veteran, 100 years old, or 100 years young, shall I say, Jim Gettings. Let's take a listen to him. Let me just ask you this, Jim. You're wearing your sash, you're wearing your replacement beret, and I know that that beret was your original one, was something that you had to sell. Your little girl had whooping cough, and you had to sell all of your belongings to help try and pay for her care. You've made it now to the ripe old age of 100 years old. I'm so pleased to see you as well with your beret on. What's your secret to living to 100 years old?
Avoid dying.
Oh. Jim, I was hoping you was going to tell me to drink alcohol every day or something like that. Jim, can I just say, on behalf of the nation, we want to say, GB News, myself, GB News, all of our viewers, we want to say thank you for your service. We are incredibly grateful for men like you and for everything that you did to ensure that we can have the life that we got right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to me. And God bless everybody, because we're living in very bad times again, aren't we? So God bless. Bye-bye.
Oh, Jim, I mean, that just really touched me. Did you hear that sentence literally there towards the end? Thank you for listening to me. And I've got to say, I find it so important to try and talk to the veterans, to try and listen to that experience. It means so much to them that their experiences, memories and all the rest of it are passed down through the generations as well. What a guy.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
Taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there
with expert analysis breaking down what it means for you.
Budget day, all day Wednesday.
Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Coming up from 8 p.m, it is Ask the 5. It's your chance to ask us anything. You can send your questions through to gbnews.com/. You also put Ask the 5 in your comments. We know what to look for. But now it's time for one of your favourite parts of the show. It's Triggered Tantrums. And we scour the internet all week long to find the most insane clips to bring you of people just losing it. Wait until you see it. Will, take it away.
I must admit, I found mine a couple of hours before the show. So
Stop breaking the illusion, Will. We want to make it look like you've worked hard.
Opening the curtain for the audience. Another example, ladies and gentlemen, of the kind and compassionate left, this time in London. Let's take a look.
That's my property, my friend.
Basically, what we couldn't quite see there, it was attempts by left-wing activists to try and pull down Turning Point counter signals or signs because they didn't believe in the message that those signs were putting out. As opposed to everything that Charlie Kirk believed in, it is easier just to pull down the sign and call them racist.
Well, didn't Charlie Kirk believe in the freedom of expression? So pulling down the sign is hardly not being kind and compassionate left, is it, Will?
It is someone's property.
But they are trying to stop that conversation that Charlie Kirk...
All right, but that's their view. That's their problem. I agree it's wrong.
Right.
But they can still do it.
It's still ironic, though, isn't it?
Is it ironic? They don't believe in anything Charlie Kirk said. They've never said.
No, they don't believe in debate.
It's destruction of property. You can't do it for starters.
There's plenty of people that have pulled down Palestinian flags.
Destruction of property.
OK, Renee?
I can't cope anymore, guys. What have I got? Oh, I know. So you know that great big conference in the middle of the Amazon where they knocked down half the Amazon to build a road there. People flew in on their private jets. Well, they've been trying to negotiate...
Trump. You're talking about that later.
Have I got it wrong?
You've ruined it. You've ruined the surprise. No, we're going to talk about that later. No, save that one for later because I think the audience are going to want to watch it. But you have got a video of Trump to show us.
The next clip I find absolutely disgusting. Here you go.
What did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan Chase?
Sir,
Yeah,
if
Jennifer,
there's
go
nothing
ahead, go ahead.
incriminating in the file, sir, why are you acting as a... Venezuela, sir.
That's right. He called a journalist who asked him a question, Piggy. He said, quiet, Piggy. He lost the plot. Trump is my tantrum.
What do you think? What do you think?
I just think Trump is going to be studied for years to come. I find the guy quite hilarious, and God, if you can start getting offended by him, and we got a whole book's worth of stuff.
I do find this like a
context.
Kai, I want to know what you think. Go on.
I find him funny, and I think you can see his smile forming even in that video. I mean, we're always telling people to stop being, hurt feelings, wah snowflakes. I mean, come on, Renee, it's quite funny, isn't it?
Woman, Miss Piggy.
I don't know the context of why he said it. I don't understand it.
This is bizarre. Renee and I are the most woke people on this issue. I don't think you should be calling women piggy.
No, I wouldn't either, but I mean...
Well, I will say this, like, it is in Trump's character. He has not just attacked women, he's attacked men.
I agree with
No, I'm not going to do, because it's not my character to call you that. I would never call you that, However, I mean, this is Trump's character all over, isn't it? And you can disagree with him, you may not like it. Some of you here on your side are finding it very, very funny, I will say that. But, this is Donald Trump all over. And, he's gone after everyone. He got after Marjorie Taylor Greene over the last week. He's done it over men. He's called what was it? Who was the famous governor who said he's had too many pork pies actually? And he's like,
Chris Christie.
Anyone but Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, he's gone after everybody. This is just Trump. I don't think he's being deliberately sexist.
I agree.
And I think if we do draw all these connections every time someone he says something off the cuff, then I think actually we're doing a disservice to who Trump is.
Very
but that's who I think. Yeah, it is not very nice. I will say that. But I think you still have to laugh, don't you? Because it is Donald Trump. Anyway, have a look at my little clip for you.
Who
would you rather have in your country, number 1 or number 2?
Number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah, number 2. Number 2?
Number 2?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, is there a third option where they're both not there? Yeah, I'm not a fan of traitors or fascists.
Okay, so let's just bring a terrorist into the country.
I mean, you can't make it up, can you? You can't make it up. This is the problem with lefties, is that they would rather take Osama bin Laden into their country than a MAGA Republican. Yes, yes.
No.
Yes, yes. Video evidence of it, Kai.
No. I don't believe in anything that they believe in. I've said
they're on your side of the argument, mate.
Yeah, but well, they're not really actually, because as I've said many times before, on the hard left, there are some proper nutters.
Yeah.
And I don't associate with them.
You want them to be in government. What do you make of it, Renee?
I like how you said don't necessarily associate with them, Kai.
Did I?
Well, you know, this is actually, on a more serious note, the very problem that we face. That these deluded people are not seeing the ideology that someone like Osama bin Laden represented. Chopping off people's heads, stoning women to death.
Yeah, indeed.
The education system has been
more trigger tantrums will be coming your way. I'll quickly read out some of your comments. Tina says, sorry, Renee, it was funny. I laugh every time I see it. Gordon says, Peggy. I don't think her name was Peggy, by the way. I think that's been debunked. Lots of Ask the Fives. Guy says, we're talking about this Trump Piggy comment, by the way. Guy says, she's known to him and he just says it in jest. Peter says, Trump is brilliant. Grumpy Grandma. Grumpy Grandma.
I want to know more about that.
He was a journalist because he no longer likes the BBC. Yeah, perhaps, you never know.
Grumpy Grandad has transitioned on the NHS.
All right, now listen, don't go anywhere. Coming up, it's the Saturday 5 Extra, and Dr. Renee is going to be letting her hair down. Anything can happen. She's going to be in charge. Get ready. We'll be back in just a moment, and I'll be back at 9 o'clock with some bombshell TV for you.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For the remainder of the weekend, it is going to be staying unsettled. A mix of clearer skies, but also plenty of showers and some quite strong winds possible in the west later Sunday through into Monday. For the time being, though, there are still going to be some spells of rain out there, particularly across parts of East Anglia, southeast England. Now, this will eventually clear away, allowing some drier spells of weather, soon being replaced, though, by some very blustery showers. At first, pushing into Northern Ireland